yeah. And when I say 8 o'clock, doggone it, I mean 8 o'clock. Let's do this thing. Let's go live on Instagram as well, please. Let's make that happen. And I hope that's working. So welcome. This is The Go Show, celebrating all things outdoors in this beautiful outdoor playground of a state that we live in. We are so proud to have you hanging out with us on our new live stream, which we're going to do every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. Mike, I know it's Friday. I get it. We're just doing a test run today. We've got a lot to cover, though. It's going to be our first episode, and then we're going to launch at 8 o'clock on Saturday. So thank you so much for being here. Big thanks to Steve Clark. Thanks to Marcy. Thanks for Tom for sharing this out yesterday, this little announcement that we'll be doing this. I appreciate your support. Appreciate all your support. So during the show, if you're having a good time, we celebrate all things outdoors in this beautiful outdoor world that we live in. And I'd like for you to subscribe, follow along, and just keep the show moving right along. We've been doing this for now our 11th year. This is our 11th year celebrating the great outdoors. The GO in Go Show stands for Go Outdoors, Get Outdoors, Great Outdoors. You're an American. You decide whatever the G stands for. The O, definitely a big, fat, capitalized outdoors, because that's what we do here. And we're going to be doing this on Facebook. We're going to be doing this on Instagram. We're going to be doing this on YouTube. And again, follow along, subscribe, like, all that stuff. Comment along. We'll be playing. I'll be looking over at the comments. Hopefully I can read them without my readers. But, see, I am old. It just is what it is. I'll get there. Maybe I'd go to progressives. Then you're just really old. Let's just admit it. You're just old at progressives. But thanks for playing along. I wanted to kick off the show with a couple of rules. This has been standing rules for over a decade here on the show, and that is, if you're commenting along, just be nice. Be researched, be informed, and be nice. You don't have to be sweet. You don't have to say nice, positive things about me. As a matter of fact, you can say negative things about me. I've got pretty tough skin over the last 15 years being in terrestrial radio, so I'm used to that kind of stuff. But just be nice to each other, be kind, talk with respect, and I would appreciate that. I'd appreciate that both from me, and I will treat you the same as well. And the reason why I say that is there was an announcement by Arizona Game and Fish last week that Commissioner Guggenauer, after his 5-year volunteer run as a commissioner for your Arizona Game and Fish Department, is being re-upped. Potentially, he's got to go to a Senate vote here in the state. The governor has to sign it, but the governor has said, yeah, we want you for another 5 years. That threw an entire just crap storm online in comment sections. And I jumped in congratulating Jim, because I know Jim very well. I'm the vice president of Wildlife for Tomorrow. He's the president of Wildlife for Tomorrow. I know Jim. I respect Jim. And to see these comments kind of blew me away. So I want to cover a few things in there if I could, because I promised, I committed in my comments on the post that I would be addressing that this week. So let's dive right in. I want to have Jim, maybe not next week, but the following week, as a guest on the show, so he can introduce himself to you as not a career politician. That was one of my favorite things. And a not conservative, conservationist, excuse me, another one of my favorite things. I'll put it this way. James Guggenauer, being re-upped for another 5-year volunteer position on the Arizona Game and Fish Commission, has had his hands on not one, but 2 pieces of tech that are currently residing on Mars. That's right. Yes, rovers. The man's just, he's brilliant. We love him. But let's get back to what I committed that I would talk to you about. The bans. The 2 bans, this is tournament predator hunting and trail cam bans here in the state of Arizona, and why that was necessary. Might not have been the greatest thing, but definitely necessary, and let me explain. First of all, that was not exclusively Jim's idea. That was not exclusively Jim's vote. This was committee. This was traveling around the state, listening and getting feedback and talking and communicating. That's the process. And that was what the commission did, as well as Director Ty Gray. Now, let's start with tournament predator hunting here in the state of Arizona. No, coyote hunting and predator hunting has not been banned in Arizona, partially because of the move of banning tournament hunting. Now, I'm just going to keep this as simple as possible and not get into the weeds. So kind of play along with me and give me a little bit of runway here, if you will. And then we'll talk about the trail cams, both of which have the same the same origin story, so to speak, for my nerds that love Star Wars and and the Avengers and all Marvel. The origin story sounds like this. It starts with an organization called Humane Society of the United States. Humane Society of the United States, that's HSUS for the cool kids. So from here on out, we will discuss them as HSUS. Humane Society of the United States is not the organization that trickles down your donations to the Humane Society of Phoenix, to the Humane Society of Houston, to the Humane Society of Los Angeles. No, they're on their own. They're doing the good work. They're doing all the great work that Humane Society does locally in saving all the puppies and the kittens and adoptions and adoption drives and all that. They're doing all the work. Humane Society of the United States lets you and I, we the people, think that they are the umbrella organization that if you donate your hard-earned money to them, that they're going to trickle it down to all those that are doing so much good on the ground. Nope. Humane Society of the United States, HSUS, has one mission and one mission only, and that is to eradicate hunting and angling nationwide. Period. Yes, you heard that correctly. They have a $150 million annual war chest. And what I mean war chest, they're going to war. And they're sneaky about it. The cool thing about it is all the critter groups and conservation groups here in Arizona, we're onto their game. We see what they're doing, and we're taking them out one by one. But it takes a lot of effort because we don't have a $150 million war chest. They can allocate that money to any state, any cause, any drive that they would like to. We just have to be ready and be ready to mobilize and take them out as we have done. Now, you see where I'm going with this, right? HSUS doesn't care about the North American model of wildlife conservation. They don't. And by the way, the North American model of wildlife conservation is the crown jewel of conservation. It is because I don't know. Let me see what it works. And it always has worked. It has saved species from the brink of extinction. Look at the game species that we harvest every single year, the seasons that we have. Look at the populations of all of those little animals back in the day and today, flourishing, thriving because of the North American model. Humane Society wants to just kneecap that. Science be damned. We are just going to go save the animals. Okay. Back in the day, they realized, and back in the day, I'm talking about just several years ago, they saw a pattern here in Arizona. They saw a trend. And that trend was, those of you from California, this might hurt a little bit, but it's okay. I'm a Southern California transplant. I understand. They saw the change politically in the state of Arizona. They saw a bunch of Californians transplanting themselves in Arizona and voting the same way that they did in California. See, it's kind of funny, right? They voted the same way they did when they're in California that caused them to not be able to live in California. So they came to the great state of Arizona with all its cool stuff from people that weren't voting how they were voting. So they saw a change. They saw a state now, Arizona, two Democrat senators, and now a Democrat governor. I bet if we go knocking door to door, we could get something put on the ballot that would sound like this. Knock, knock, knock. Hello, California transplant. Hi, I'm with the Humane Society of the United States of America. How are you today? Did you know here in Arizona, and welcome, we love having you here. Did you know here in Arizona that hunters can go out and just kill as many animals as they want for a trophy? A tournament. They have tournaments to kill as many animals as they can. Do you want to sign here? We're going to put this on the ballot. We're going to get rid of this. Oh, yes. And the clutching of the pearls happens. And then they say, sign. And then they tell all their friends about it. And they sign. And then boom, it's on the ballot. Here's the deal. That piece of legislation is not simply to ban predator tournaments in the state of Arizona. No. It had several other bans in that piece of legislation, but the only thing that would be advertised in that legislation would be, we can't let these hunters go out and have tournaments to kill as many animals as possible. That, you see? So preemptively, your Arizona Game and Fish Department realized what a mess that would be. And I mean, there was a list of species that we would not even be able to participate in the North American model of wildlife conservation. So they said, good, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take a preemptive stance. No tournaments are allowed for predator hunting. And us as outdoorsmen lost our bleeping minds, at least those that didn't do the homework, and looked, oh, so guess what didn't make it on the ballot? that because we kneecapped HSUS. And of course, I'm simplifying this, but we got rid of tournaments for predators, and we just saved other outdoor activities that we have. Aha. Now you see where we're going to go with trail cams, right? By the way, there's not an outright trail cam ban in Arizona. It's not. People call it a trail cam ban. There are bans of trail cams in certain areas and in certain times of the year. If there was an outright ban, you couldn't go to Sportsman's, you couldn't go to Bass Pro, you couldn't go anywhere and buy a trail cam. You couldn't. If it was banned in the state of Arizona, you wouldn't be able to. So be careful what we say when we talk about a trail cam ban. It's not banned. So again, enter HSUS, Humane Society of the United States. Again, not the parent organization that gives money to all the cool humane societies around the nation. They just want to not have hunting and fishing. Trail cams. Knock, knock, knock. Hi, Mr. or Mrs. New person here in the state of Arizona. Did you know that here in the great state of Arizona, hunters can use cameras to kill animals? Sign here, and we're going to eliminate that. Oh, I can't believe they would do that. That's not fair at all. They're not, you can't use cameras to kill an animal. I'm going to sign right here. Now, reading along in that piece of legislation, ban. Not just trail cameras, ban. And by the way, that was an outright of all trail cams. Forget about this noise. It was bad legislation. So your Arizona Game and Fish Department preemptively kneecapped HSUS and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take away trail cams for certain things. That way, HSUS can't go knocking on doors saying they can use cameras to kill animals. Yeah. So not only does your Arizona Game and Fish Department manage 820 plus species here in the state of Arizona. By the way, we are the most biodiverse non-coastal state in the nation. We are a beautiful state. I am such an Arizona apologist, and I love the work that the Game and Fish does because it's not all about elk, deer, largemouth bass. It's not about javelina. It's not about rams, not about bison. It's about 820 plus species that need to have a balance, a circle of life, if you will, to make sure that everything, all the birds, bees, trees, everything is thriving here in the state of Arizona. So there you go. So when I was asked online in the comment section about Commissioner Guggenauer, I was asked to explain why I thought that he has done a great job. The commission has done a great job. And the only thing that people are pointing to is bans and bans. Well, there's my opinion on it. That's why it was banned. So now you know. And I by the way, I simplified it for me because let's be honest, I'm me. Thanks for hanging out. This is the Go Show. We celebrate all things outdoors in this beautiful outdoor world that we live in. And I'm based right here in Arizona. So we have a lot of Arizona news to kick it off. We're going to be doing this every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. I know it's Friday. Again, we're just launching and doing a little test to make sure that we can stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all at the same time. So it might be a little bumpy ride, but appreciate you hanging out with us just like you have done for the past 11 years. Holy mackerel. That's actually making me feel old. I remember my first show. I remember my first guest. Holy mackerel. Yep. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say who it is because it's going to make him feel old too. Really old, but he's still at the department. Okay. The big news happened here in Arizona, and for those that are out of the state, pay attention. It's pretty neat. The second Jaguar was discovered in the state of Arizona. No, it's not the second Jaguar that was discovered in the state of Arizona. It's the second one that was filmed by We the Peoples, filmed by a citizen, caught on ring cam, or I forget what it was, maybe even a trail cam. See, exactly. Not a ban. Anyway, this is the second. El Jefe was first thing in 2020. We saw a Jaguar, and everybody lost their bleeping mind because you don't think Arizona and Jaguar, right? I was in that in that camp as well. It's like, wow, I don't know what this was because maybe this is a climate change thing. I don't know. Why are we having Jaguars here? Is this our kids safe? is my dog safe? Should I go hunting? There's Jaguars here. You know, everybody losing their minds until I sat down and listened to people that know, biologists, scientists, those at the Game and Fish Department that are giving an update on this. This is the second. It is for all of what they can tell due to the from the camera footage. It's a male. It's a boy. It's apparently identifying as male. No, it's a male. It's funnier, right, when that debate is put in animal context. The Jaguars male. So, as my buddy Jim Colazar said, he's up here looking for love in all the wrong places. Here's the fact: Southern Arizona is the northernmost territory of Jaguar. This is kind of their hood, but this is the northernmost territory of their hood. So it's few and far between that they would even be here. Even more of higher odds, so to speak, of actually getting one on film and saying, "Oh, there's the Jaguar." For us outdoorsmen or any outdoor person in the state, you understand how vast this is. I think it's great when you go hiking or you're out on a hunt and you get high to go glassing, or you're at the end of your trail at the peak, and you just look out and you can see Phoenix and you see everything. But it's just you understand how vast Arizona is, just how vast this desert is, and how beautiful it is. And to find a little tiny needle in a haystack, a little jaguar out there, and understand that this is part of their territory. Hey, it all comes together and you kind of feel better about it. But how cool is that, though? I mean, could you imagine? The guy that actually discovered this, saw this on his trail cam, was like, I think that's a Jaguar. And it's funny because it's exciting. But then when you look into the history, you look into Jaguars, you look into where they're prevalent, where their territories are, you find out it's not that big of a deal, but it's still cool. It's still cool. I like to geek out about it. I think it's fun. But anyway, it's a male, so it's not like they're up here finding the ladies and making babies. So no, they are not summoning the stork. He was, who knows why he's out here, but I will probably tell you this. Eh, it's not the only one here. No. So we don't have to name it this time because there's probably several more. We just don't know. This is the Go Show. We celebrate all things outdoors in this beautiful outdoor world that we live in. And I got to tell you, I'm your host, Mike Russell. Thanks for hanging out. Um, I'm just a Second Amendment apologist, and I'm gonna link these two together. So stay with me here. So when you think, oh, there's only one Jaguar here, but that's okay. There's several. I mean, it's not a giant population, but they come and they go. They roam. They do their thing. They're looking for food. They're looking for ladies. Or the ladies are looking for the men. However it is, they're trying to summon the stork in some way, and they're finding any way they can, and that is by movement. Okay, so there's several here. But back to the firearms, I always say it was funny. It's like, oh, we can't allow firearms in this, whether it's a college campus or whatever it is. Yep, there are firearms on like I guarantee you. I don't care what the sign says. I guarantee you there are. So there are probably more Jaguars down there. Probably some species that we don't even know. Again, there's 820 species of animal here in the state of Arizona that are managed by Arizona Game and Fish Department. So if you think about how much 820 is, yeah, you gotta. There's probably stuff that we didn't even know. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a T-Rex or a Velociraptor showed up. I kid. Let's talk about another headline that a lot of people are chatting about online, and that is Colorado and their wolves. That's right. Colorado has released the wolves, and there's about 10 of them. But we understand those that, as we spoke earlier in the show, we understand with predators and predator hunting and basically how crazy it gets quickly when you talk about doggies. And wolves are doggies. So litter after litter after litter, this is going to get big quick. If you think it's going to stay at 10, it's not going to stay at 10. Their goal is about 50, I believe. They're looking to have a population of about 50 of these wolves. Now, let's talk about these wolves. These wolves ain't no joke. They aren't Mexican wolves. These are wolves. These are big boys. These are huge. And if you just go ahead and look them up online, go ahead and find some Google images on these things. Basically, in relative to a human, you don't have a dog this big. You probably never seen a dog this big. Why is this important? Well, because Colorado is our neighbor, and now Colorado's becoming that neighbor. Let's be real. They are becoming that neighbor because there's no physical borders we have geographical borders, but we don't have physical borders around our states here in the United States. So to release an animal into the wild that might impact other states and their model, their conservation efforts is a little yeah. I'm not a huge fan, but I'm not a biologist either. But it gets pause. So what's going to happen when those nosy little pups decide to venture over into to a undefined, I'm sorry, not a physical, but a geographical defined border into neighboring states? And Colorado just seems to be becoming that state. I was dropping my kid off the other day at school, and there's this. I think it's a Mustang. It's dark when I drop them off. I'm pretty sure it's a Mustang, but it's the the giant. You want me to do like yeah, just obnoxiously loud. I've got a loud enough truck. I've got the windows up, and it's still loud inside my truck when the guy drives by. And okay, whatever, good on you. That's what who you want to be. That's your hobby. Good for you. But I thought that guy has a neighbor. That guy pulls out of a driveway. God forbid it's like an apartment complex or a townhome complex, and there's just everybody, like hundreds of people around, but they have to hear that several times a day. And I thought, oh, that's rough. But my mind went to neighbor. Then when I started thinking about this wolves in Colorado, thinking Colorado is becoming that neighbor. Really, they are. I mean, you think about that with recreational marijuana. They were the first to really jump on the bandwagon with recreational marijuana, and people were thinking, "What in the world is Colorado doing?" And there are neighbors like, "Come on, Colorado." Yeah, and now they're releasing gigantic wolves into the population. What's going on? You know what would have been a great idea? Here in Phoenix, we have people who go downtown. You go to different cities, and you'll see these people pushing these carts, and these carts have they have snacks, they have chips, they've got some have are coolers, so they have ice cream, and sandwiches, and they just kind of push them along. You push these carts, they got little bells on the handles, and they're ringing the handles as they're rolling along, and they all start in a central location, and they just kind of fan out. And I thought, what a great idea that would have been, right? Yeah, I know it's a side note. What a good idea that would have been. What a fantastic. When Colorado started marijuana tourism, oh my gosh, I should have just got the whole fam bam together. We'd just get those carts and just get your Funyuns. Who wants Funyuns? Get your Funyuns. Go through those resort towns with those little carts selling snacks. Yeah, missed opportunity, I guess. I guess, but it's Colorado. Colorado's just become that interesting neighbor. It used to be California. California was always like the cool, like they're doing things that are crazy. And all right, let's watch California and see how it goes. Colorado's basically taking the moniker because California just gone off the rails. And yes, on this show, I do take shots at California all the time. That is my birth state. I passed the test and escaped. This is the Go Show. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'm your host, Mike Russell. We celebrate all things outdoors in this beautiful outdoor world that we live in. Let's move on to another controversial debate, shall we? I think we've covered a lot. We've covered trail cam bans. We've covered what else did we cover? We covered the tournament bans, and yeah, okay, let's go into this. How about this? OHV for the cool kids. For the non-cool kids, that stands for off-highway vehicles. That's any vehicle that you don't drive on the road. Those are those side-by-sides, quads, dirt bikes, and boats. Being very general with that, but that's is really what it is. Here in the state of Arizona, there is legislation being bandied about that would require a class to be taken for anyone to operate a OHV that is under the age of 18. Class could be it could be a 1 hour online course. What could be a 1 week course? Who cares what it is? Now I'm going to ruffle some feathers because this is my show and I'm going to give you my opinions on it. One of the things you'll understand when we move forward, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you what you should do. I'm not going to tell you what you should think. I'm only going to give you my opinion. I'm going to give you what I use. If I'm excited about a product, I'm not going to tell you what bait to throw unless that bait is actually producing fish. So I can say that I'm sponsored by, so you have to, but no, that's not what we're getting here. So I can actually ruffle a few feathers by saying, here is my opinion simply about how we should handle certain OH vehicles in their operation by kids that don't have fully developed brains yet. And I understand at 18, you don't have a fully developed brain, but at least it's a start here in this beautiful nation of ours. We have deemed 18 as an adult, and we give you all the rights within, except for renting a car for some weird reason. At 25, I guess that's when your brain is fully developed. I don't know. Never really gave that much thought. But 18 is when you say you're an adult, and we try our best to give you all the rights of being an adult. So under that, currently, you can operate an OHV, an off-highway vehicle, whether it's a boat or a side-by-side and dirt bike and the like. I'm not opposed. I don't know if I'd go as far as licensing, but here's where I am with this. I've grown up around boats. I've grown up in the water. I've grown up in wonderful, wonderful bodies of water. I'm talking about jet boats, ski boats, every kind of boat you can imagine. I've driven. I was pulling a skier at 13. So I understand that, back in our day, we didn't even have seatbelts. I get it. I'm not advertising people pulling skiers, 13-year-olds pulling skiers, but that was how I grew up. And I got to tell you, at that moment, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I thought, oh my gosh, I can actually do this. I can actually pull a skier at 13. How cool is this? I can do that. I look back on it and go, what the hell was I thinking? What was my father thinking? Letting me pull a skier at age 13? He would just toss me the keys and said, we were sitting on the beach. They're drinking Coors Light or whatever they're drinking, throwing me the keys. Son, go take out the boat. Take it out. It's a 19-foot Liberty jet boat. It was one of those. It had the big chrome headers out of the back. It had some blah, blah, blah Corvette engine in it. And, just honk, a big old loud pedal on the thing. Steering wheel was on the proper side, by the way. Thank goodness. And I just go out there at 13, Bass Lake. If you don't know Bass Lake in California, Bass Lake is the movie The Great Outdoors. How cool is that, right? Fast forward, The Great Outdoors of John Candy and Dan Aykroyd, one of the coolest movies I've ever seen. That is Bass Lake, California. Most of that is filmed at Bass Lake, California. And, where we did the old 96 or the steak. It was a local restaurant called Deucey's. And so that's where I learned to ski. That's where I was driving the boat. That's where I was pulling skiers at 13. But ironically, the crew that we hung out with, kind of the neighborhood crew that would always go down to the lake, they saw a 13-year-old pulling a skier as just no big deal. You got to understand this was, 30-something years ago. But this was always no big deal. But they were hounds about safety. I mean, hounds. And you got to understand, the cool part about Bass Lake is the pines go right down to the water. There's times where they'd have a storm, and if a tree would fall into the lake and be just a few inches under the water line. Oof, how dangerous that is. The whole community would rally around. They wouldn't wait for the government to show up. They would just take care of it themselves for the safety of the boating public. They didn't like jet skis. They didn't like Sea-Doos, but they managed through that whole process. But safety was a big concern always. Yet they watched me pull skiers, and I pulled them at ages 13 and 14. I look back on that and realize how really dumb that is. As a dad, I think about my 13-year-olds. They could probably have pulled it off like their dad did, but why? Why really take that risk? And, insurance is through the roof these days. So why not just work with the insurance companies and say, look, I have a boat. My family has, all of us have taken this course. All of us are either licensed, we have a certificate, whatever it is, and they get a discount on a deal on the insurance. Everybody wins in that. The debate will continue, but Arizona is considering that, making sure that at least those that aren't of adult age at least understand the do's and don'ts of off-highway vehicles. And folks, it's something to have a discussion about. Whether you think, I think that's crazy. My son is out there every day and my daughter does this, and that's great. It's wonderful. I'm not saying that we have to have licensing for OH vehicles. I'm just leaning on that side. And I think that driving is probably the most dangerous thing that you can do in a day. You think about that. You're in a multi-thousand-pound vehicle, and you're pushing 80 on I-10 or 51 or 202. 303, forget about it. I'm a West Valley guy. The 303 is the Arizona Autobahn. I'm doing 80 in the Falcon in my truck, and I'm just getting passed. Like people coming up on me like I'm doing 40. But anyway, it is the most dangerous thing you can do because you're relying on everyone else to follow the rules. You're relying on yourself to maintain focus, and it really is a dangerous thing. But there are lines, there are rules. Everyone is licensed. It kind of gives you that, okay, all right, there is a certain amount of I wouldn't say safety, but there's a certain amount of comfort that comes from knowing that everyone else on the road has at least gone through driver's education, passed a test, for the love of grief, and knows to stay within the navigational beacons, right? Stay within the lanes, signal if you want. If you're not in a one of those luxury cars, you actually use your turn signal and you go, right, your left, you check your blind spots, you do all that. You know that the person next to you, the person in front of you, behind you, those around you have taken a test. You go out to the lake. There's rules. Can you name any? What's the age that you have to have somebody wearing a life vest in a boat at all times? Not many people even know that. Which way you're supposed to go, and there's kind of it's essentially it's vehicle anarchy. At least in the side by sides and people out there trail riding, at least there's a trail, right? Who has the right of way? How far do you have to be from somebody to really lay on it and make that big old cloud of dirt? How far is safe to follow somebody? Does anyone know the rules? Are there any rules? See? So there is some advantages to at least having a conversation, having a discussion about this. And again, I'd love for you to subscribe to the show. I'd love for you to follow along the show, comment. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you reaching in. It's good to be heard again, my man. And please follow along, comment, and understand that we're here to have a discussion about all things. We have the coolest lifestyle in the world in the outdoors. We have probably the biggest job and responsibility and task that a human can have, and that's conserving. That's conservation. That's making sure that we're doing things right so that there is outdoor activities for future generations and generations and generations and generation that falls upon us. So here in this show, that's why I'm asking you to subscribe and follow along and comment, is because this show is all about discussion. We want to have not really debate. I mean, we can debate, but let's open up the discussion about trail cam bans. Let's open up a discussion about the predator hunting tournaments. Let's how we deal with HSUS. Let's open up a discussion about licensing or classes for people under 18 for OHV operation. There we go. The V is vehicle. I don't say off-highway vehicles. The OHV operation. I think that's a worthwhile discussion to have. Again, I'm leaning right now on I think it's probably best if we do. If you want to get into the infringing on, and that's fine. We can talk about that as well. So thanks for hanging out with us. Again, we're going to do this every Saturday at 8:00, and then the podcast would be up after. Today's Friday. I understand that. But we jumped all over this thing, and I am heading up north to hang out with intern Beans. And so we are going to start Saturdays. Yeah. Hey, thank you. I missed, something. I missed being here. I appreciate you guys chiming in on that as well. But follow along, subscribe, especially on YouTube. Subscribe, and let's build this thing and let's just have a good time. Let's stream this thing every week. Let's get back to what we do throughout the week on Instagram, TikTok, all that. We're going to be having fun little nuggets all the way through the week and leading up to the big show every Saturday morning. So again, subscribe and follow along. Thank you. Chime in as well as much as you can. It pops up here on the screen. And again, I'll get the old man readers out. See what the kids are saying these days. Yeah. We're gonna have a good time. Thank you for being with me right here on the Go Show. Have a great week, everyone.